Amid the hustle and bustle of the Korean entertainment world full of spotlight and public opinion, there is one thing that has recently made the army around the world silent and think deeply. Jimin's silence every time Jungkook becomes the subject of public discussion. Not a few think Jimin is just maintaining privacy or wants to stay away from controversy. But in time, fans began to realize that behind that silence lies a much deeper meaning. A form of silent protection that only someone who truly understands Jungkook can do, not as a group mate, but as brothers who grew up together under the same pressures from their teens. When Jungkook is in the spotlight for various issues involving him, whether it's his solo career, stage performance, to his life off stage, many fans are looking forward to responses from BTS members, especially Jimin, because their relationship is known to be very close, almost like a shadow of each other. But strangely, Jimin actually chose to be silent. There were no support uploads, no open comments, not even a clear gesture in front of the public. All seemed quiet from Jimin's side. But over time, ARMY's careful attention began to catch on to something. Jimin's silence didn't mean he didn't care. Instead of being silent, he showed a deeper form of love and trust towards Jungkook. Jungkook is no longer the 15-year-old boy who came to Seoul with big dreams and small shoulders trembling with fear. He was a grown man who could stand on his own 2 feet. So, for Jimin, defending Jungkook openly in public can actually be considered condescending to his friend's strength. In some old interviews, Jimin once said, "Sometimes, you don't need to say anything to show that you're on his side. You just have to be there." That sentence now feels like the key to all mysteries. Jimin's silence is not distance, but the way he shows partiality without adding weight. Many fans also began to notice the subtle interactions behind the scenes, where Jimin is always seen keeping a warm distance with Jungkook. He doesn't indulge her as much as he used to, doesn't soothe her verbally, but is often seen staring at Jungkook in an inexplicable way, full of pride, worry, and trust. There's a video from backstage of the concert where Jungkook appears nervous before performing solo, and Jimin only touches his shoulder briefly without saying anything. Jungkook then took a deep breath and smiled a little, as if that was enough to give him strength. Such moments, although simple, prove an emotional closeness that does not need to be exhibited in words. There was another theory that also developed among the army, that Jimin's silence was the purest form of solidarity. In a world that is so quick to judge, where every word can be used as a weapon, Jimin chose to be silent so that not a single word he said was misinterpreted and actually hurt Jungkook. He knows very well that the media and netizens can twist good intentions into hot headlines. And so, with his silence, he created a safe space for Jungkook to speak on his own behalf, without needing to be saved by anyone. An adult attitude that shows that their relationship has already passed the stage of dependence becomes mutual respect and maturity. But that doesn't mean Jimin doesn't feel anything. In a radio interview some time ago, Jimin once touched on how hard it is to see someone close to him attacked by public opinion. Sometimes you want to be angry, you want to talk, but you also know that silence can be the best way to protect him, she says softly. Many ARMY later linked the statement to a moment when Jungkook was under immense pressure. Now, as time has passed, fans are increasingly convinced that the remark was not accidental. Even more thrilling, Jimin's silence also seemed to show his deep trust in Jungkook's character. He knew Jungkook was strong enough to weather the storm, and secretly, he stood behind him, making sure that if one day he fell, there would always be someone ready to catch him. Not with words, but with real existence. That's why, even though Jimin didn't seem to comment on camera, many witnesses from the production team and people behind the stage said that Jimin always asked Jungkook's condition first. He doesn't say much, but he always checks if Jungkook is okay. One of Big Hit staffers said in an unofficial interview that went viral on social media, "Perhaps Jimin's silence is the most sincere form of love. In a world where everyone is screaming to be heard, Jimin chooses to be a soothing silence. As the world shakes Jungkook with different opinions, Jimin is a silent wall on which Jungkook can lean without fear of being judged. And for Jungkook, who is known to value authenticity and simplicity, Such a gesture is worth more than 1,000 words of defense. In one of his live broadcasts, Jungkook once said, "There are people who don't need to say I care about you every day, but you know they are always there. And that's more than enough." The army believes he is talking about Jimin. Now, after a long time, many fans are looking back at their friendship journey with different glasses. They realize that relationships built on silence, empathy, and mutual trust are stronger than anything the public eye can see. In his silence, Jimin shows a form of love that does not need recognition, only understanding. And in the midst of such a noisy world, that attitude actually makes him even more respected at Army, who used to wonder why Jimin did not react, is now moved. They understand that true love between two friends is not always expressed through dramatic words or actions, but through meaningful silence. Jimin didn't care. He just loved in a way that not everyone could understand. In every step of Jungkook, who is now more mature and confident, there is Jimin's silence that always accompanies from afar, like a soft shadow that never leaves the light. And perhaps, that's where the true meaning of silence has been misunderstood, not the absence of feeling, but the deepest, most honest, and most enduring form of love between two souls who grew up together on the same stage, but bear a burden unseen by anyone but themselves that as time passed. Jimin and Jungkook's relationship became a kind of symbol of calm in the midst of the violent hustle and bustle of the entertainment industry. Many people rate their friendship as one of the most sincere among the idols of their generation. But not everyone knows how they got to that point, where one can choose to be silent not because they don't care, but because they care too much to fear that their words will hurt. In that silence, Jimin kept so many things about Jungkook: admiration, worry, even pride that he never expressed directly. There was a time when Jimin once said to a close friend in an off-camera interview, "You know, I've seen Jungkook cry, laugh, fight, and endure all the pressure that others might not be able to bear." The sentence, although not officially published, spread among fans who followed their journey closely. From there it began to appear that Jimin understood Jungkook more deeply than just a coworker. He knows when to be present and when to be silent. Because for Jimin, a wordless presence is more valuable than thousands of public defenses that will only make things worse. As Jungkook faces difficult times at the peak of his career, Jimin becomes one of the few people who doesn't try to make things right by talking. He was just there, making sure that his best friend was not alone. There was one story that moved Army a lot. That time, after one of the big concerts, Jungkook shut himself down because he felt his performance wasn't perfect enough. Many tried to calm him down, but Jungkook remained silent. Only Jimin came, sitting beside him, without saying anything.